Upon the African savannah, where life and death intertwine in every fleeting moment, an extraordinary story unfolded. On a typical day, as the deep rumble of elephants echoed across the land, a sudden, panicked cry tore through the peaceful air, a harbinger of a looming tragedy. This is not merely a tale of a struggle for survival between species, but a profound lesson in courage, unity, and boundless compassion. The African savannah is an eternal painting of life and death. Here, under the majestic African sun, peace seems to be the natural state. Golden grasslands stretch endlessly, punctuated by old, gnarled acacia trees, like the masterful strokes of an artist. Within this serene landscape, a herd of elephants grazes leisurely. Each of their steps carries an unusual serenity, as if they are the benevolent rulers of this land. The deep, guttural rumbles of the elephants echo from a distance, not as a warning, but as a melody of life, a soft whisper between mother and child. The calves frolic, their trunks reaching for fresh green leaves, while the adults stand guard, their ears gently flapping, creating a sense of absolute security. But nature, as we know, rarely maintains tranquility for long. Amidst this symphony of life, a discordant sound emerges, the panicked cry of a single bird. Unlike the usual clear morning chirps, this sound is jarring, carrying a primal fear, like a prophecy of something ominous. Our park rangers, who have dedicated their lives to understanding the language of this land, immediately sense the change. They stop, their sharp eyes scanning every nook and cranny, searching for the reason behind this sudden unease. The bird's cry continues, a desperate plea, and it seems to be guiding them to a place where peace has just come to an end. This very spot, just minutes before, was a place of quiet serenity. But now, the air has changed. It is thick, heavy. The grass seems to have stopped swaying, and other birds fall silent. Something unseen is approaching, something that has broken the natural balance. And when the bird's cry suddenly ceases, they know they are just a few steps away from confronting a terrible truth. The truth that in a place as beautiful as this, death always lurks, and peace is only a fleeting moment. As the rangers approach, they feel the change in the atmosphere, a stillness that sends shivers down their spines. It is the silence not of life, but of death in ambush. From within a thicket, a gigantic dark shape slowly slithers out. It moves silently, almost invisibly, but every inch of its coiled body is a hidden power. It is a massive rock python, one of Africa's most fearsome predators, a creature capable of swallowing an entire antelope. But its target this time is much, much larger. In what seems like an endless moment, it strikes. There is no sound, only a deadly speed. It coils tightly around a full-grown elephant, a creature many times its size. This scene seems impossible. A python, a cold-blooded creature, is constricting a king of the savannah. Its embrace is not just an act of predation, but a confrontation between two primal forces. The elephant roars, a sound of ultimate despair and pain. It is not a roar of victory, but a desperate cry for help. The entire forest seems to tremble before it. Trees sway, and trampled bushes lie crushed. The elephant thrashes in a desperate struggle, but the python's grip is too tight, too merciless. The rangers, who are accustomed to the brutality of nature, are frozen in disbelief. They have seen leopards hunt antelopes and lions hunt buffalo, but never have they witnessed a scene so absurd and tragic. In that moment, every logic of nature is turned upside down. A mighty elephant, a symbol of strength and wisdom, is being subdued by a cold, coiled python. The question is no longer who will win, but whether any life will be left after this horrific battle. The initial silence has vanished, replaced by a single sound, the labored breathing of the elephant, the grinding of bones, and the pounding hearts of witnesses. Can they intervene? Or will they stand by and watch a miracle of nature turn into a tragedy? For a moment, shock paralyzes them. But only a second later, the instincts of protectors take over. Fear is pushed aside, giving way to courage. They rush forward, each with a task, each with determination. This is no longer a routine patrol, but a life or death battle. They split up.
Got a python here.
One group tries to pull the elephant's body, hoping to create a small gap for the elephant's
vitals
breathe.
first.
This task is nearly impossible. The elephant weighs tons, and each of its frantic movements sends them reeling. The other group confronts the python. With reckless abandon, they use sticks and ropes, exerting all their strength to loosen the python's deadly grip. It is a confrontation of raw power. Every muscle fiber of the python coils, resisting all their efforts. It hisses, not with the roar of a mammal, but with a cold, terrifying hiss that comes from deep within its throat. Its mouth gapes wide, revealing sharp fangs, ready to strike anyone who dares to interfere with its face. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, damp earth, and fear. Their breaths are rapid. Every second is precious. They can clearly hear the elephant's strained breathing, the cracking of its bones under the python's pressure. They cannot retreat. The life of a giant creature is in their hands. Each person gives their all, but the python's hold shows no sign of loosening. It seems to have recognized the threat, and it tightens its grip even more, as if to assert its absolute power. In that moment, one of the rangers stumbles and almost falls. In that instant, despair begins to creep in. A trembling voice utters, "We can't do it." The words cut through the group's efforts like a knife. A silence descends, broken only by the python's constriction and the elephant's weak gasps. Is this the end? Will one of Africa's symbols be defeated right before their eyes? That silence is not a sign of accepting defeat, but a decisive moment. Will they give up, or will they find the final strength to fight? In the moment when all hope seemed to vanish, a glimmer of light appeared. The desperate voice of one ranger was drowned out by the determined shout of another. And no, we must save it at all costs. That voice was not just a command, but a vow. It awakened the dormant courage within each of them. They looked at each other, their eyes exchanging a silent understanding. They would fight to the end. At that point, the elephant's struggles were weak, its breath intermittent, its eyes heavy. It was giving up, but it was in that critical moment that one ranger made a daring decision. It was no longer about brute force, but about quick thinking, a spark of human intellect. He grabbed a sturdy stick and ran to the head of the python. The whole group held their breath. He struck the python's head hard, not to injure it, but to distract it. The python, a creature with a supreme hunting instinct, immediately lifted its head. It opened its mouth wide, a look of pure hatred in its eyes, and lunged towards him. In that moment, time seemed to stand still. One person faced a primal monster. Danger hung by a thread. It was a moment of ultimate sacrifice and courage, and it was their only chance. While the python was distracted, the entire group gathered their final strength and pulled hard together. Inch by inch, the python's coils gradually loosened. The sound of cracking bones was gone, replaced by the ragged breaths of the rangers. The knot had been undone. The moment the python's coils were completely removed, a profound silence fell. The elephant was nearly motionless, and everyone feared it was too late. But then a sound filled the air. It was the elephant taking a long, deep breath. That sound was not mighty, not majestic, but it was the sweetest sound they had ever heard. It was the sound of life, the sound of hope. Everyone broke down in tears, not out of sorrow, but out of sheer relief, for a miracle had happened right before their eyes. With the elephant finally free from the deadly embrace, the python slowly slithered away. It left a long trail in the grass, a reminder of the battle that had just taken place. It vanished into the bushes, returning to its primal instincts. Now, only stillness and relief remained. The rangers quickly attended to the elephant. They gently stroked it, checking the deep scars on its skin. Those terrible constrictions were a testament to how close life and death had come. But the elephant, a creature with a strong instinct for recovery, slowly regained its strength. It shakily got to its feet, its legs still unsteady. Then, in an incredibly moving moment, It gently, very gently, touched its trunk to the shoulder of the ranger who had saved its life. It was a thank you that needed no words. It was a connection between two species, a silent understanding that they had overcome a tragic moment together. The elephant herd in the distance, seemingly having heard the victory, let out a majestic roar. The elephant turned and slowly walked to rejoin its herd. It left behind the people who had risked their lives for it. The rangers watched, their eyes glistening. Their job was not just to protect the species, but to protect an individual alive. In the harshness of the wild, human courage, unity, and compassion had become an extraordinary force. The story of the elephant and the python is not just a story of survival. It is a reminder that even when faced with seemingly insurmountable dangers, hope always exists. It lies in the actions of a small group of people, in the long breath of a rescued elephant, and in the silent thanks of a trunk. It is a lesson about life, connection, and belief that no matter how harsh nature can be, human kindness can still create miracles.